the occasion of the publication of her next book. I am Daya Mukesh.
And I am Nikita David, and we are privileged to have been given the opportunity to take this wonderful audience through today's program. One song can change a moment, one idea can change the world, one step can start a journey, but a prayer can change the impossible. As a mark of our undying tradition, let us invoke the blessings of the Almighty and bring grace to today's program. Let us rise for the prayer by Miss Jolin.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Thank you, Jolin. So, to officially begin the book launch, I invite Mr. Olivannan, CEO of Emerald Publishers, to welcome the gathering.
Before welcoming you all to this August gathering, I should profusely, apologize for the inconvenience because this is quite unexpected. That it's the summer set today. Actually, all these days we were enjoying a cold day, and usually people will tell us, "Why don't you adjust the temperature there so that we can sit comfortably?" But today things differently, and I'm sure you will bear with us, and we will ensure that the next time we will not make this kind of things happen. It's quite warm inside, right? Am I right? Or is it only I the one you feel it? Okay.
We are all warm, sir.
I should tell you that I first wanted to thank my team for producing such a wonderful book. This is the first of its kind, with such a elegant hardbound print for poem collections. So I wanted to thank the team first. When I saw the book yesterday, first thing I asked them was, "This is the book that we're going to launch tomorrow." So it has come out very beautifully. Not only the content, the book also. So now it's really a pleasure to welcome you all for this evening, because book launch is always so special to us. I normally used to say writing a book is somewhat, if you give a try, you can do it. Finding a publisher is also not very difficult, especially for an academician. But what is very difficult is, but of course, difficult is selling and making people to read the book. For all those difficult things, I would say the most difficult one is arranging a book launch function and getting people for the launch. Because on a Sunday evening, 4 o'clock, when Mr. Prem said 4 o'clock, I asked him, "We're all going to be here." He said, "No, sir, there will be a lot of people." I'm quite pleased that every one of you have chosen to come this evening. That shows your love and affection, not only for the book, also for the author. Let me first welcome our chief guest, Ms. Tendal. No. Yeah. Dr. Nirmal Selvamani. It's really an honor for us to have him here amidst us as a chief guest for this evening. Thank you, sir. We welcome you for this evening. And guests of honor, Ms. Seema. Welcome, madam. She is a director at American Center, Chennai. We thank you for your presence this evening. Introduction to the book will be done by Dr. Mirna Judge. Yes, madam. Welcome, madam. I'm also, it's an honor to have my good friend for a long time, and also the head of the Department of English, Dr. Anthony Sami. And importantly, the Today, the I would rather say the hero or heroine of the day, Madam Dr. Mary Vidya Pochelvi, who has come here. She is also popularly called as Maya. I saw quite a number of students are, today they turned up. Actually, it's a great honor. Now, a professor, classroom, students attending today itself is a tough task today for a teacher. But for a book launch, that too on a Sunday evening, students have chosen to come. I'm deeply honored and welcome every one of you for this evening, and also Professor Bakiraj, Madam's father, sir. We are quite honored to have you amidst us. So this evening is for you. So enjoy this evening, and while going back, don't forget to pick up the books of your choice here. There are quite a number of books. So thank you very much, and I'm sure you will all enjoy this evening. Of course, I will be failing my duty if I fail to mention the names of Prem Kumar, Joyce, who have been doing a great work here as coordinators of Chennai Book Club. Week after week, I think this must be the 10th or 15th. 10th actually, so it's a kind of a celebration for them. Every Sunday morning they meet here at 10 o'clock and have a book review here. I think this is the first time it's happening in the second time in the evening. So thank you guys for making this also happen. Thank you. Let's stand here.
Thank you so much, sir. As a token of appreciation for all your presence and support for the event today, I invite Dr. Vidya to honor the dignitaries. Our chief guest, Dr. Nirmal Selvamani. Thank you so much, sir, for being here today. Our guest of honor, Ms. Seema Massett. Thank you, ma'am, for your presence here. Dr. Anthony Sami, Head of the Department of English, Loyola College. Thank you, sir, for your support today. Our special guest, Dr. Mirna George. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence here. And finally, of course, Ms. Tendril. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence today. A token of appreciation for Mr. G. Olivannan for all his support in organizing today's program. Now we move on to the most exciting part of today's event, the much-awaited release of Gaianjali by Maya. The book will be released by Dr. Nirmal Selvamani, former founding professor and head of the Department of English Studies and Dean School of Social Sciences and Humanities, Central University of Tamil Nadu. And the first copy will be received by our guest of honor, Ms. Seema Massett, Director, American Center. Thank you, everyone. I now hand it over to Daya to introduce our special guest for the event.
The sparkle of fire is the witness of your worth. The silent flaunts of water is the witness of your softness. The rising and setting of the sun is the witness of your rhythm. And your words, your soul, and your book are the witnesses of your hard work and patience. We have with us today two notable personalities in the literary field who would be giving us an introduction to the newly released book. Their talks will help us delve into the essence of Gaianjali by Maya. Firstly, I cordially invite Dr. Miruna George to the dais to give her talk on the book. Dr. Miruna George is an associate professor and former head of the English department at Stella Maris College. She is an alumni and has been a faculty at Stella Maris College, Chennai since 1996. She is presently the Dean of Student Affairs. She received her PhD in 2011 for her doctoral thesis analyzing the plays of Mahesh Dattani. Her areas of interest are drama, Indian writing in English, East and South Asian literature, and American literature. She has presented papers in national and international conferences on themes of gender and sexuality, diaspora studies, and subalternity, and published in many national journals and books. She is a research supervisor for 8 doctoral candidates. She was the UG head from 2011 to 2013 and PG head of Department of English at Stella Maris College from June 2013 to 2018. She visited the University of Texas on a faculty exchange program in October 2018 and delivered lectures to the BA English Honours students on feminism and gender studies, and a public lecture on eco-consciousness in the writings of St. Francis of Assisi and Pope Francis. She also visited California State University, Sacramento for an invited lecture on trans narratives in the Indian context in November 2018. She has also spoken on international webinars on the topic Deconstructing the Gender Binary, organized by Guru Nanak College Autonomous Chennai in June 2020, and Exploring Post-Colonialism in Anglophone Literature by Kumara Guru College of Liberal Arts, Coimbatore, in September 2020. She was a visiting scholar at the Department of Women's and Gender Studies School of Humanities, California State University, Sacramento in November 2022, and gave a public lecture for Women in Humanities series on the aesthetics and politics of representation in Dalit women's writing on December 1st, 2022. In 2021, she published a book entitled Interrogating Subalternity and Liminality in Select Plays of Mahesh Dattani. She has been invited to speak at various book launches, including topics like Northeast writings, aesthetics in Dalit women's poetry. She serves on various English department boards of studies and doctoral committees and is the college representative at Xavier Board of Higher Education. I invite you, ma'am, for the talk.
Good evening. It is a privilege to introduce with Mary Vidya Porcelvi's anthology of poems, launched now amid all the dignitaries, scholars, and her well-wishers. I thank her for inviting me to this book launch and to introduce her book. It's a great responsibility, which I would do gladly as a gift of appreciation to a very sincere and dedicated student who has established herself in her own right as a committed teacher, scholar par excellence, a researcher in the quest for knowledge, and a talented poet we witness today, as her poems talk to us about what really matters amidst all the chase and chaos of a life becoming more and more competitive. Nature, humanity, and the sustenance of the inner self, which is reflected through her choice of topics, capturing the rhythm of breath, life, and the oneness with the divine, the universe. I would steer clear of dwelling on the concept of Gaia and eco related ideas that emerge from one's reading of the poems, leaving those to the author and the other dignitaries to address. The collection of poems by Vidya is a reflection of her deep engagement with her Aham and Puram, if you have to use her language. The poems selected here, I am sure, from a plenitude of her creative outbursts, are, in my opinion, carefully selected to give a proper representation to her responses, reactions, and emotions as someone deeply soaked in life's myriad ways. I can see that there are poems that sing as lyrical tributes to life's miracles, the change of seasons, the colors of seasons, the predictability of nature's course on the track of the solar path. And there are poems deeply personal, drawing on her memories of childhood, the photographic imprint of her grandmother's journey, her unuttered dreams that one will never know, the tiffin box containing idlis and coconut chutney, the lime and the tamarind rice are peons of nostalgia, paid as a warm respect to that maternal form, selfless and knowing only the art of giving. The inspiration of the father, symbolized as an image of catalytic shoot of a tree, silently leading the poet to greater heights, commands the reader's salute for the fertile ground laid out for this graceful poet to flourish. I would like to quote a few lines from some of the poems that stayed in my mind for the richness of the imagery and the personal note they struck. The poem titled Silence as a Way, the sound of a silent breath, a tiny sapling making its way, a poem finding the break of day. This poem makes us pause and observe one's own breathing as one becomes conscious of breathing, inhaling and exhaling, being mindful of the process of living itself, which is compared to the effortless breaking out of life force of a sapling, a process that should be similar to the seeds of inspiration, pushing itself in the case of a creative writer, whose creativity is both the natural act, spontaneous, and further nurtured through the craft of writing. The poem titled Amma evokes a sense of nostalgia of childhood when we felt secure in the knowledge of our mother's protective care. The food which becomes a symbol of love and sustenance, priceless and precious. The visual evocation of all the vegetables destined in their quest for the making of a perfect sambar, that typical South Indian dish, so wholesome and delicious, which has its pride of place at all feasts, yet present at a simple meal as well. The spirituality of the experience of eating, which should not only be physical, but emotional and spiritual, soulful, fulfilling an experience of a sumptuous meal. Amma's love and Amma's food are synonymous in one's memory. Amma, the poem. Good food is life filled. Amma's food is love fulfilled. In the center, a large pan with tuor dal, turnip, drumstick, and brinjal on their quest to form a perfect sambar. The next poem I'm going to read is a quintessential image of Mother Teresa, imagined as the tree of life, of hope, and unconditional love in a white cotton sari. I quote, in a white cotton sari, a smiling tree who spread love and cheer to millions of hopeless and homeless. Unquote. This poem, Homecoming, is a satire on man's so called scientific progress, I like the use of binary, vicious and virtuous. I'd like to read that poem. It's homecoming to the human mind. Numbers and letters, images and symbols, moving into dark caves, encoding and decoding signs on cyber walls, day in and day out, grappling with giant mysteries of this vicious, virtuous, virtual universe. And then there is the fresh image of the moon as a dancing queen, arresting all our attention with its ethereal beauty. The moon appeared dancing in the dark stage and foretold the beauty's queenly presence. The poem Calligraphy is more a comment of the calligrapher as the lover creating the art of calligraphy. Calligraphy is an art where the pen falls in love with white paper. Finally, I would like to end my introduction to Vidya's collection of poems with these lines that convey her enduring love for Mother Earth, lines that are glorifying tribute to the abundance that is Mother Earth, eternal symbol of giving, life sustenance, and in a way, living through all of us, coursing through our veins, keeping our bloodstreams alive, the breath of life itself. It's love that keeps the world go round, the circle of eternity. The poem Circularity, waxing and waning of the silvery moon, rhythms of day and night as the earth goes round and round. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter pass the baton to one another. Finally, I end with these lines from Gaia, echoing the message of the scriptures where there is love, there is life. Love letters to Gaia. Gaia is love that unites everything. Thank you.
ட்ரிப் ஆயிடுச்சு உடனே அதுக்கப்புறமா திருப்பி
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those kind words and giving us an insightful introduction to the book. Next, I call upon our next guest, Ms. Tendril Shivakumar, for her input towards the star book of the day, Gaianjali. Ms. Tendril Shivakumar, also known by her pen name, Thamare Chelvi. She is a BCom graduate from ICWAI. Even though from a commerce educational background, she finds interest in literature, especially in translation studies. She is an established Tamil translator and has to her credit two famous translations, namely Mugamodigalin Pallataka, translation of The Valley of the Masks by Tarun Tejpal, and Avian Vade, translation of The Agony of the Ghost and Other Stories by Hasan Azizul Haq. She also authored a Tamil poetry collection titled Enil. She has penned several poems, short stories, articles, and book reviews in Tamil print and e-magazines. I invite you, ma'am, to give in your critical talk on Gaianjali.
So, a very good evening to all the dignitaries on stage and in the audience, and to the family and friends of Mary Vidya Purselvi, alias Maya. So it has been quite formal so far. I'll be a bit informal because I'm her classmate. Yes, Maya has dedicated her book, Gaianjali, to all her teachers. And I am one who is fortunate enough to have known a few of them and to have learnt under a few of them. We share the same school, literally. Yeah, and mention Mary Vidya, and the first image that I'll get is that of a quiet girl from the second row with thick hair and a beautiful smile. Mention Tendril and she'll probably remember the chatterbox from the second last row with long hair and probably a grin all the time on the face. So that's how we were in school. And here we are. Literature has embraced both of us. And I really don't have words. Even the chatterbox in me doesn't have any words to express how proud I am to be standing here and sharing a few words about this book, especially in front of our sisters from Fatima, who we revere always. So that's it. That's the basic introduction. Mary Vidya Porchelvi, she specializes in ecofeminism. So her poems do talk about nature, feminism. She talks about Ubuntu, Agam Puram, and silence and words. And most importantly, there is a sense of embrace in her poems, a pure compassion underlying in her poems. That strikes us the most when we read the copy. She mentions the words supreme silence in one poem. So you just cannot cross that just like that. You've got to stop there and reflect on the supreme silence that she's mentioning there. Then going from the silence, she goes into the maestro's tunes, which is, that poem is garnished with the word tanana. So every 2-3 lines you have a tanana coming in. You just start singing the poem. So it is there also. The compassion is there. She says, in complete harmony with Mother Nature, the music. Her silence, music, and words are all in harmony with Mother Nature. Then there is one striking poem, not that that is the only striking poem, that there is one striking poem which I think is very relevant and very important in today's parlance. It's called The Rat Race. So, what do we equip our children for? A rat race? Or what else? Going through that poem, I come across a line, 4 different words, that just sums up the situation. Coaching, seats, marks, lacks. So, is this what we call education? Is a question. And that coming from an academician. She also puts forth the solution for that. She says journalists are happy, writers are happy, everybody is happy. You need not only be an engineer to be happy. And then there is this poem, which many of us can relate to. It's called The Dusky Dawn. So there is this child who loves the pink yellow frock, but is not allowed to wear it just because of her complexion. Don't we all do that? I have a friend who loves blue color, but she never picks the dark blue shade. So, because of her complexion. So, whenever I happen to get a dress or a sari for her, I make it a point that I get it in a dark shade and let her know that she looks beautiful in that also. So, this is one touching poem that takes back you in time. I won't say it is not present now, but maybe not up to this extent. Then going into the poems, Maya's Gaianjali. I asked her how to pronounce it. So she said, because she's an English teacher, right? I'm very happy about that. Maya's Gaianjali begins with a poem called Our Ancestors and branches up to Our Grandchildren's Children. So she has brought in quite a few generations into her book, and you can find a golden thread going through each generation, which is not cut yet it is just traveling along. She speaks about Amma, Appa, and Ammachi, and summer vacation and those golden days. I got connected to the nostalgia, maybe because she's my classmate. So, yeah, it's about Amma's food, as ma'am mentioned earlier. She says it is love fulfilled. Amma's food, right? So true. It is never half filled. If there is one thing in this world that a mother is never content of, is the quantity of the food her child takes. So, shall I just say that in Tamil also? ஸோ அம்மாவுடைய சாப்பாடு வந்து எப்பயுமே நிறைவாக தான் இருக்கும். எப்பயுமே பாதி சாப்பாடுன்றது அம்மாவுக்கு தெரியவே தெரியாது. ஒரு அம்மாவுக்கு இந்த உலகத்துல திருப்தியே கொடுக்காத ஒரே விஷயம் என்னன்னா, அவ குழந்தை சாப்பிட்ற சாப்பாடோட அளவு தான். எத்தனை வயசானாலும் சரி, எப்பயானாலும் சரி. ஸோ அண்ட் தென் அப்பா. Her poem about Appa is just like Appa. I don't know how better to put it forward. So she says, he is simple and unassuming, which is often mistaken for ignorance and naive. So simple words do convey the deepest meanings. It is for all of us to reflect on how we perceive a person who looks simple. Then, going to my most favorite part, the Ammachi. I told her Ammachi is my most favorite poem from your book. I don't mind, because even if she asks, don't you like the other poems? She's not the type who will ask that. Probably I'll do. But Ammachi is my most favorite poem. Ammachi enters the family in a crisp cotton sari. So, how many of us remember our Ammachi in a crisp cotton sari? That is how she came into the family. First instruction given to her, I want to become the richest man in the town, you be beside me. And she has no choice than to accept. Nobody is going to wait for her consent also. So she starts saying beside, and finally ends up behind. The poem travels from beside to behind in a very beautiful manner. It is beautiful because it's in a poem, but in life it's very painful. She was not to desire, she was not to aspire. Clear-cut instructions. You stay by the mud stove and do the cooking. So every day, and as time passes by, the crisp sari becomes saggy and crunched. The way the words have come into the poem at the different stages of the poem paints a life in front of your eyes. And while Ammachi passed away, she had a faded yellow thread in her tired neck. Why would a neck be tired? A poet will not use the word tired for a neck for no reason, right? It's tired because of the weight she was carrying. It's tired because of having the head bent all the time. Or it's tired because of all the aspirations and all the dreams staying inside the throat only. So the neck is tired when she passed away. Or there is this literal reason, asthma. She kept coughing all the time till she passed away. So this is her poem on Ammachi. There is another beautiful leaf to this poem, which I will discuss now. But there is another poem, The Summer Vacation, where she says about how Ammachi's hair is plaited into a perfect knot, and how her hair on the forehead is tainted in yellow. So this picture immediately took me to my Ammachi. I call her Aya. So Maya Aya also had yellow hair on the forehead. Reason is very simple. They religiously apply turmeric every day on their face. They never cared to pull back the shreds of hair from here or there. So the turmeric got applied onto the gray hair and it turned yellow here. My Aya also had yellow hair on the forehead. She had a stroke. She did not have asthma. She had a stroke and her movements were restricted. So I get connected to this poem at the root level and up to the branches and leaves. So this happens to be the most favorite poem of mine. And then there is this one poem where I would say, whenever I read a book, I take all of us, whenever we read a book, we take away something with us. So there is one poem that I take away with me, that's Gaia's Nest. So traveling down the generations, there is this professor or lecturer or whoever. She's taking a class where sunlight is coming in through the black windows. I keep imagining that scenario where the class is full of students and sunlight is coming in through a black window. And but she, in her deepest of wishes, wants to take the class outside under a tree with students sitting around her, reading out the poems to them. That's what she dreams of. And this poem goes and goes and goes by. There only she says, the black coffee is not enough for me. My idlis are waiting in the lunchbox. But okay, I read out the poems. So it goes and goes and goes and it goes into her house. So in her house, there is this nest building process going on. And she don't know who's building the nest. There is the net lawn for the mosquito. And there is the window pane. And then in between that space, there is a new nest coming up. Each day she's witnessing the growth of the nest, the construction of the nest. And one fine day she notices a squirrel in it. So she keeps imagining, will it be a sparrow? Will it be a crow? But finally it's a squirrel. And when she opens the tap and the water starts gushing, the squirrel gets tense. It's palpitating. And this she doesn't like it. She wants it to be calm and composed. She knows the squirrel has a baby within itself. So what she does is, she slows down the tap and lets the waters gush slowly so that the noise will not disturb the squirrel who is building an illegal house within her house. So this poem I take away with me, and I salute Maya for this poem. And I would like to conclude with one more addition. Amachi always gets 1 rupee from her husband every day to meet her expenses. She has 9 children, mind you, to feed. So 1 rupee a day. One fine day she asks, can I have another rupee? He says, be careful about how you spend. Okay, that is the English version. It might sound refined. Okay, I'll tell it out in Tamil. Paathu selavu pannu. 1 rupee. Okay, so she cannot even ask for that 1 rupee more. She is satisfied with what she has received. She has to buy firewood and vegetables for 9 children. There is this firewood seller who is very tired, young. She has a young child that she is carrying on her shoulders in tattered cloths with logs of firewood on her head. She is coming to sell firewood. Amachi has the same compassion. She says, how can I bargain with this girl? She gives the 1 rupee. You have only firewood. What will you cook? She goes back to the backyard, picks up cabbages, goes to the market, sells the cabbages, gets some other things, comes back and cooks for 9 children and the husband who will come back for lunch. பார்த்து செலவு பண்ணுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு he'll come back for a sumptuous lunch. So this Ammachi, she cannot bargain with another tattered soul. She has so much of compassion that she is willing to just give away whatever she has, whatever she has. And this she in Gaia's nest is no less compassionate than Ammachi. Imagine coming home from a long day's work. First thing you do is open the tap of water. Definitely. But this she will not do it. She will look at the squirrel. She will pacify the squirrel. The squirrel is not even looking at her. She cannot even touch the squirrel. She's only looking at it from a glass pane. But she slows down the flow of water for the sake of that squirrel. So, Ammachi's compassion is not gone. It's just coming through the generations. It's not lost. One basic difference. She can dream, she can aspire, and she can write whatever she wants and pass it on to the next generations. This is one basic reason why I think and I believe this book has to be read by the kids of this generation also. So, congratulations, Mary Vidya, on your work. I would again say I'm so proud to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity amidst so much of scholars and dignitaries. I'm one person who's not used to formal speech like this. So, if there was anything wrong or misconceived, I seek your apologies. Thanks for listening to me so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful words, ma'am. Now I invite our chief guest of the day, Dr. Nirmal Selvamani, to share his views on the book. Dr. Nirmal Selvamani is the former founding professor and head of the Department of English Studies and Dean School of Social Sciences and Humanities, Central University of Tamil Nadu. His major areas of interest in the last 4 decades have been alternative lifeway, Tinai studies, Tolkapiam, eco-criticism, Tamil musicology, poetics, and theory. He pioneered the Tinai movement primarily by offering the first ever Tinai-based academic courses, Tamil poetics and Tamil musicology in the Indian university system. And other efforts by Dr. Selvamani include founding the forum, now known as Tinai, which was formerly called OSLE India, launching the first ever journal in eco-criticism titled Indian Journal of Eco-Criticism, and by writing extensively about Tinai. He has developed a new area of study known as Tinai musicology as well. In the 1980s, he has also formulated a theory called Puttinai, which we know as oikopoetics, which is included in the syllabi of many Indian colleges and universities, and is used by several scholars from many countries as a theoretical framework for their research. Sir has also played the guitar professionally, scripted and directed plays as well, and he has also composed music for those plays. Thank you so much for being here, sir. We are privileged to have you here. Over to you.
respected guest of honor, Ms. Seema Massel, Director of American Center at the U.S. Consulate, Chennai, Dr. Niruna George, Dean, Student Affairs, Telemar's College, Dr. Anthony Sami, Head of the Department of English, Loyola College, Mr. Wali Vannan, CEO of, can you hear me? I can be a little louder. Now it's better. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Half of the words are within you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can do that again. So I was just kind of paying my respects to the dignitaries on the dais. And last but not least, of course, the most important person, the author, Dr. Patsalvi, also known as Maya, who's brought out this book, which brings us all together this evening. A very good evening to all of you. First of all, I should thank Dr. Patsalvi for asking me to say a few words about her book and also releasing that book. I thought that I would say this before I released the book, but it happened the other way, but that's how things happen. That's fine. So if you are like me, wondering why Dr. Patsalvi chose to call herself Maya. Well, if you think Maya is Maya, that is Maya. Because Maya is really Mani Megalai, in my opinion. I mean, I really love Amachi and the other female personae in the poems. I immensely love them, but I see her as Mani Megalai, particularly, in the poem In Love with the Universe. If you have read it, I'm sure you will all agree with me. Is there anyone who disagrees with me? Okay, thank you. The original Maya, Buddha's mother, gave Buddha to the world. But Buddha, in a way, gave Mani Megalai to the world. The Buddha was Buddhism brought to Tamil Nadu by many Buddhist monks, probably some of them missionaries of Emperor Ashoka. But more than all of their contributions, I think it is Chitali Chatana's Mani Megalai, which is sitting there right behind you. I think the commentary is by Professor Nannan. That, to me, epitomizes Tamil Buddhism, if at all there is such a thing as Tamil Buddhism. And it is this contemporary Mani Megalai, I mean, contemporaneous with Chilapadigaram, the other, they are both considered a kind of equally great epics. Sure. Oh, okay. I understand. I need to take some training.
Oh, sorry, just need some help. I do that.
Hello? Does that work? So it is this Mani Megalai which painted the most immortal persona, the noblest hunger eradicating mother that the Tamil tradition knows, eradicating hunger of all of the hungry bellies without discriminating anyone on the basis of caste, creed, or color, or any other divisive identity. Today, Mani Megalai reappears as Maya, probably to eradicate our hunger and our hunger for love, about which Stendhal also spoke about. Compassion, the most needed amudu today. Her Gaianjali is veritably a surabi, a football that can, not football, I'm sorry if I sound that wrongly, that can never be emptied by anybody, by anybody's hunger. Every verse bowl runneth over with nutrition we all badly need today. In good measure, we can enjoy it as Emerald, under the leadership of Mr. Olivanan, has arranged to serve this Amudu in very elegant, book form like this. Dr. Purcellvi shared her manuscript of Gaianjali before publication with me and wanted me to give a foreword. But when I read the manuscript, I found that Tinai was one of the topics, and there were 5 pieces about Tinai. But when I read the poems a little more closely, I discovered that Tinai was underlying the other poems also, which were not explicitly about Tinai. So I thought that all of these, verses were really anticipating Tinai. So I decided to give a write-up which will make my discovery explicit rather than a conventional foreword as such. My write-up turned out to be a sort of a prelude, because I think what we're talking about is music in a way. I guess Dr. Purcellvi is not unhappy about, this unexpected substitution. Gaianjali, the Surabhi of another, this Amudu, as I said, should assuage our hunger, I think, for love, peace, and particularly social justice at this time. And if I can take the liberty to quote and misquote Maya, this is from her text. She has the gift of abundance. She blesses people with love. She has a vision. She has a mission. She is like the nature mother with the overflowing bowl of goodness and love for all life. But never did she imagine that she would see the moment we all see now. And thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm extremely happy to share this moment with you all. You're all waiting to read the book. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, I thought it was mine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, sir. It's always a pleasure listening to you. Now I invite Ms. Seema Massett. She is an ardent believer in cultural exchange, cultural cross-pollination, and her personal axiom is what is different from you makes you stronger. With over a decade of experience in art and cultural management, Seema is currently the director of American Center, Chennai. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations, Dr. Purcellvi. I'm really happy to be here, and it's a special moment also because Dr. Purcellvi is a Fulbright scholar, and the Fulbright program is an important program for us at the American Center and the Chennai consulate, the American consulate, because it builds bridges between our two countries and creates enduring relationships. Congratulations again. And I want to say, I'm not an academic. I'll start by that with a full disclosure. But I do believe that our worldview is mostly limited by the words that we have, the vocabulary that we have. And it's thanks to poets like Dr. Purcellvi, or rather Maya, that gives words and helps us articulate better everything that we can feel, that we didn't know we felt. And in a time where the environment, the earth, is not only the organic, living, breathing thing that we are living and breathing on, it is also a period when it's highly politicized, it is in danger, and it's also through poetry that we can find our way back to nature, to connect back with the world, with the soil. And we need this kind of mysticism, I would say, to find our way back to all this. I would just like to read one of my favorite pieces from the book. I would like to start with 64, Giving Birth. Giving birth. Ideas, emotions, feelings lie inside the dark womb, waiting for a new dawn. Language is a dark mirage, scarcely carrying the burden of smiles and tears. Even poems don't get to see light in a normal way these days. It requires a C section. At the end of the day, mother and child are happy, yet there is pain in the sutures. If this is not a piece of art, I don't know what is. I think it brings together so beautifully the act of creation and yet the dangers that face it today. There are these modern inventions, but there is also pain, and this is one of my favorite pieces. And I would want to finish by reading another piece, which I thought was also really beautiful. But Dr. George already read Circularity, so I'm going to read The Full Moon. Full moon in the night sky. On a hectic day at dinner time, how she eagerly wished the dosa came out, round, crisp, and golden, without sticking to the pan, like a full moon in the night sky. She prayed, meditated, chanted, pleaded, but the dosa was indignant and quite adamant that day, and punished her to eternity. Her mind and the dosa were in shreds. It's great how food makes a appearance throughout the book as a way for us to connect to ourselves and to the world around. So once again, congratulations, and how lucky we are to be here today and witness the release of the collection. And what a labor of love. Congratulations again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us here today. A picture of silent courage and the ever vibrant support. Dr. Anthony Sami Sir, the head of the English Department of Loyola College, Chennai, has been with the department through everything, and he's here today to support his dear colleague, Dr. Vidya Mary Porchelvi, ma'am. I invite you, sir, to share a few words on this occasion.
Good evening. It's a happy news for you. This is the last but one speech. The last speech is going to be by the poet Maya, so you can relax. The chief guest of this evening function, book release function, Dr. Nirmal Selvapani. The guest of honor, Ms. Seema, and the professors who introduced the book, Dr. Miruna Judge and Ms. Tendril Sivakumar, and my dear colleague and my mentor, Dr. G. Pakiraj, formerly the head of the Department of English, Loyola College, and all the invited guests and my faculty, colleagues, and all dear my students, and of course the members of the family of Dr. Mary Vidya Porchelvi. Definitely is a proud moment for the department, I would say, because we see very few teachers who practice what they preach. And here is a teacher who asks students to write a poem, to write a short essay, write a short story. And then if you are not a short story writer and a poet yourself, then don't you think it is a hypocrisy? I think she has done a good job of becoming a person who preaches what she practices what she preaches. That's what I would say. My own teachers, some of them used to inspire us. my professor Eugene Devas was a painter. And when he used to talk about literature, we used to look at him with awe and wonder. Right, definitely. And there were other professors also in the department who used to talk about philosophy, aesthetics, and they would love to talk about literature. So much so that we used to simply admire, how come these people speak like this. I think it comes out of the kind of practice. So I think that's very, very important. And Dr. Mary Vidya has that advantage. So I would like to congratulate you, Maya. Yeah, the pen name Maya, Dr. Purchelvi. Another important point that I would like to talk about today is, after listening to some of the poems, because I have not read the poetry collection, except that I just glanced through the one that attracted my attention was the poem Thirst, that I would like to read little later. Okay, it's only a 3-line poem. From listening to the book reviewers, Dr. Miruna and the Sivakumar, the writer and the translator, Tendril, the Sivakumar. I have heard of at least two definitions very, very dominating in my mind ever since that I started reading literature. One is the definition of a poem by William Wordsworth. A poem is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. That's number one. I just want to ask Dr. Vidya whether it is a kind of a overflow of powerful feelings and moments in your life recollected in tranquility, because so much so that they were talking about Amma, Appa, Ammachi, Dosai, Terrace, and so on. I just want to ask you that question. At the same time, I could read, one or two lines. I find, the kind of message, what she wanted to convey to the world. I think that is where Robert Frost also is really good at. He simply says a poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom. Do you have any of that particular pattern in your poem? If not, I just ask you to find a pattern for your poem so that there is something that you can leave behind for your students to remember. Okay, that's the kind of message that I like to give you on this occasion. On behalf of the department, I'm very, very happy to congratulate Maya and Dr. Mary Vidya Porchelvi for having brought forth this important collection of poems. We have already poets. One such a poet in Tamil, again, Mr. Ashwin is here. And 2 weeks back, Dr. Anam Rahamalika also published her collection. And this is the third occasion that one of our own colleagues getting a book published, and we have the book launch here. And I wish we have many more books published and given to the students as a kind of a model. Maybe Kannan, it might be your turn next time, I'm just saying. And I'm sure there are students outside who would listen to these kind of messages, and they would also be inspired, right? So having said that, I would like to once again offer my felicitations to Dr. Mary Vidya Porchelvi on this occasion. It's a great moment for the department, and it's a great effort on her part to come out with such a creativity, the collection of creativity, definitely. So once again, congratulations to her. As I said, the poem that I read while glancing through is The Thirst. It's fantastic. The name of the poem here is a very short one, Thirst. I wouldn't take long time. Perseverance is when she walks across dry lands with water pots. Perseverance is when she walks across dry lands with water pots. Probably it is there is a kind of the thought that is good enough for understanding the effort of perseverance and also the thirst to continue, your struggle or your effort or whatever. So, congratulations. We are living in a kind of fast food world. We may not have time to read a lengthy poem like preludes and so on. We may just look at, and then what catches our attention is what is going to remain in our mind. I think she has lived up to that expectation. Surely this book will be wanted by our students, and you have definitely a message too. So congratulations to you, ma'am, and thank you for the opportunity given to me. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Now, for the much awaited session of today's event, I invite Dr. Mary Vidya Porchelvi herself to present a slice of her book to the audience. We have been eagerly waiting for the author, Maya herself, to read out her child, her poetry. I welcome you, ma'am, to the dais for the poetry reading and to present a token of gratitude and thanks to all those gathered here.
Good evening, one and all present here. Indeed, it's a moment of gratitude. Before I begin my speech, I would like to give a token of appreciation to my teachers in school and in college. In school, Sister Putti, who taught me English in 10th standard. And Dr. Tilagavati Joseph, my PhD guide and my teacher in Stella Maris College. So my task is to read out some of the lines from poetry and propose the vote of thanks. But let me begin with thanking the dignitaries on the dais. Thank you so much for coming. Dr. Nirmal Selvamani is a role model to us because in the area of eco-criticism, he's pioneered Thinai studies. He has introduced Thinai studies in the West. So almost in each and every eco-criticism class, his name comes up, and my students wanted to meet him actually. So thank you so much, sir, for being here. And thank you, Seema. It's such a wonderful experience, and feel so overwhelmed. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank HOD for his constant support and encouragement in all the academic endeavors. And I think it's a wonderful moment because, everybody here, is so special to me. My guide, my English teacher, Miruna ma'am, Tendril, Sivagami William Giri, a poet, a contemporary poet. I shared the manuscript with her, and I think her motivation, her words of encouragement helped me to go ahead with this publication. Thank you so much, ma'am. And your friends, thank you so much for coming. And my colleagues, contemporary poets, Ashwin and Ragamalika, thank you for your inspiration. Let me begin with an introduction and then read out some poems and then propose the vote of thanks. So this is going to be the format. So to answer the question of Sir Anthony Sami sir, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings with emotions recollected in tranquility, said William Wordsworth. I would like to thank God, our Father and Mother, Mother Nature, Gaia, the living Earth Mother, and everybody around me who have provided me with tiny little moments of tranquility to read and write poetry. Thank you so much. And especially my family, who has created moments of tranquility to write poetry. To me, poetry is magic and a miracle. It is medicine and cure. It is a vehicle of love and care. It is the journey of the human mind in the giant cosmos, moving towards infinity in endless space and time. In a malicious world obsessed by different degrees of dominance, poetry provides women, nature, and the other oppressed beings a voice, an expression. For the thoughts that remain muffled, poetry gives redemption. For the voices that remain silent, poetry offers refuge. In moments of agony and ecstasy, poetry provides solace and delight. Gaia refers to the Greek goddess of earth. This maiden book is an offering to Gaia. Gaianjali is a baby girl, a poetry collection born out of love and labor. I have two sons, so I wanted a girl, and this book is my baby girl. Though the poems were written over a period of 20 years, the idea of an anthology germinated a year ago, and the actual gestation process happened within the past 9 months. And here it is, an assorted collection of poems on nature, culture, gender, memory, and spirituality. So the collection has 53 poems. I'm fond of this number 53 because of the rosary beads. And so I stopped with 53. Though I have some more poems with me, I thought I'll stop with 53 for the first collection. The first poem, as ma'am has already mentioned, it's our ancestors. And the last poem, our grandchildren's children. Want some water? Yes, get some water. Yeah. So let me read out some lines. Our ancestors, weaving the web of life with grace, our ancestors kissed the soil gently with their hands and feet, with their hearts and souls, with their knees and temples, and uttered incantations. Kanini, to spread love and responsibility. Ubuntu, to care for the community. Mitagir Oisin, to acknowledge the kindred. Lakich Alakin, to respect the sacred. Agam and Puram, to connect inner and outer space. Aram and Dharma, to sustain compassion and justice. Weaving the web of life with grace, our ancestors kissed the soil gently with their hands and feet, with their hearts and souls, with their knees and temples, and offered salutations to the Earth Mother Divine. In this poem, Gaianjali, I'd like to read a stanza. To a sublime spirit within our seed soul, that which surrounds us an indivisible whole, to the living mother of this kind universe, revolving around a perennial alliance, we bow down before you in all humility as one inseparable branch of humanity, touching your hallowed roots with our temples, with faith in the fulcrum of life so simple. May we gently accord with the mysterious awning in an indissoluble web of miraculous dawning, as we comprehend life's chiseled mystery, hoping for the good in what is only necessary. With the eternal grace of your supreme being, we seek pardon for all our mindless doing. I wrote this poem, Gaianjali, during the pandemic. So it made me think a lot about our environment, and Gaianjali was a result of that. A stanza from Amachi, everybody's favorite. Slowly her space was defined. She sat near the mud stove, cooking or doing smithy work. She breathed life into things. 5 feet kitchen walls cowered down on her like angry monsters. She was not to desire. She was not to aspire. those final lines. The smoke rose up, suffocation, breathlessness, crumpled corner of cotton sari consoled a sigh of relief. As a child, I asked you, your eyes must be burning. She smiled. Later, when I grew up, I came to know that her heart was also burning, burning like the red coal in the mud stove. Her mind and body became weak. Cruelty lingering around her got inside as black smoke, got inside as a cruel beast, asthma. She was not allowed to speak. She was not allowed to smile. Asthma dictated. She was not allowed to breathe. I heard her cough, 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 never ending, until she stopped breathing on an early October morning. As a mother, as a wife, as a grandmother, she lay there, a crushed cotton sari, bronze bangles, faded yellow thread in her tired neck. Relatives stood around, but there were words unspoken, ideas unexplored, thoughts undiscovered, longing unsatisfied. This poem, Amachi, um, I wrote this poem when I was a student in Stella in the year 2000 for my creative writing project. And from then on, when I started teaching, I used to read out this poem every year to one of my, batches, one of my classes on October 9th. That is the anniversary of my grandmother. I made sure I read this poem at least once on that day because I believe she was silenced and I wanted to give her a voice. So every year I make sure I read this poem out to the students. And today I'm very happy that it has come out to a greater audience, and I hope people understand her voice. And there's a poem called A Poem. It's a meta poem. The blank white screen blatantly stares at her as the labor is on. An unbearable twinge, a formidable might, the daring mother sweats and toils. Seconds holds on to eternity, bending an arc upon infinity, and with smiling, tearful eyes upon her tan, tired cheeks, she heaves a sigh of relief, and out comes a tiny little wonder. So I think it's a woman's experience of writing a poem. And In Love with the Universe is a poem that was inspired by Mani Megalai. The poem draws a leaf out of the Tamil epic Mani Megalai, and Mani Megalai's and love and respect for Buddha, which later gets transformed into concern for humankind, care for the planet, and love for the larger universe. So I'll just read out some of those lines. When his eyes met hers, she was enlightened. It was a moment of pure destiny. Till that fine moment, she was moving in her path with a goal in mind, but she was a silent stream. He taught her fasting. She had the bowl of abundance in her hand, with which she could serve thousands of people around her. The goddess of the island had given it to her. A grain of rice would carry the spirit of the entire universe, or probably the multiverse. But the grain of rice must satiate the hunger. She began fasting. She would get up early in the morning, the time when his words tied her down with love. He asked, I hope all is well. All was well till he met her. She was not the same anymore. She felt drunk with love. The love was born out of respect. Whatever he spoke, she received it like an empty pail, floating along. Those were tiny miracle beats interspersed within deep time experiences were the magical moments. It was a camaraderie of the finest degree, wrapped in warmth and kindness. His pristine presence was a panacea to her labored, dreary days. A glimpse of him would make the day complete her love to eternity. She had never been so insane till she saw his heavenly visage. Eyes open, she anxiously searched for his vibrant face. Eyes closed, he was there within. All along her parched heart created blisters in her hands till he came to cure. She had measured the length and breadth of the universe, thinking about him. Like a newborn babe, she viewed the world with sparkling eyes that smiled with glee. Every minute ticked beautifully when his thoughts adorned her soft heart. She was a child on a swing, swaying in ecstasy. He taught her the truth, to face the world with confidence. She would hold her heart like a golden apple and hide inside the glass palace when people around her asked for it. It was an offering to him. She wouldn't budge. She wouldn't be nudged. The universe was very kind to her. She always wanted to be generous to the universe. She would get up early in the morning, the time when her heart met his soul. She would give thanks and begin her household chores. Then she set out into the world to care for the people around her. She transferred her sublime feelings for him, her eternal love for him, into little acts of care, into little acts of faith for people around her, for plants around her, for animals around her, for elders around her, for children around her. Love gave her courage. Love gave her a voice. Love gave her beauty. Love gave her more love as she hopefully awaited the advent of Maitreya, the compassionate one. Amma's poem, I think already we have discussed. And Ode to the Maestro is a dedication to Ilayaraja, my favorite musician. And we had a session on decolonization some time ago. A Fulbrighter had visited our campus. And, I was thinking of this word, Tamil word, Tanana, Tanana has become a part of Ilayaraja's poem. The little soul inside the mother's womb listened to the first rhythm, Tanana, the first song as she bent down and sowed the paddy grains in wet soil, Tanana. In a tiny village near the mountain slopes, she planted musical seeds within him, day in and day out, Tanana. Day in and day out, Tanana. For 9 months in complete harmony with Mother Nature, Tanana. The little boy grew up with music within his heart and soul, Tanana. He decided to connect and reconnect the tune from his inner world to the outside world, Tanana. He went in search of tools and methods, Tanana. Mastered patterns and compositions, Tanana. He reconnected the stars with hearts and souls, Tanana, in complete harmony with Mother Nature, Tanana. And this is one poem for the 1980s, 80s and 90s kids. My sons would call this Boomer, Boomer Mummy, they will call me. But then this is for the 80s and 90s kids. An Edenic microcosm where caste was unknown, religion was no barrier, language was not a gap. The time when there was one television in the neighborhood, we watched Oli Molium and Sunday movies on DD with chips and roasted nuts. One refrigerator in the vicinity, we got ice cubes for making sherbet with fresh lime during summer. When we sat awake the whole night in the dark during a cable fault with no power supply, we had hundreds of stories. Fantasy, horror, history. It was a heaven on earth. I think you have to get the book and read the remaining poems. So, my heartfelt thanks to all my poetic muses who inspired me to write poetry over the past 3 decades. Special note of thanks to Professor Dr. Nirmal Selvamani for his erudite and thought-provoking prelude, for connecting the dots with deep ecological understanding, drawing parallels and differences between Gaia and Thine by identifying and mapping the different kinds of women, personae, and their relation to the environment with a holistic outlook, and situating the poems within Tamil culture and eco-poetics. I am grateful to you for accepting the invitation and presiding over the program. Thank you, sir. My special thanks to Seema Massert, Director of American Center, for her valuable presence, motivation, and encouragement. She readily agreed to the invitation and has made it a very special moment for us. Thank you, Seema. It is indeed a moment of gratitude to my teachers. Thank you, Miruna ma'am, for introducing the book with grace, erudition, and scholarship. A special word of thanks to my PhD guide, Dr. Tilagavati Joseph, for gracing the occasion. I also remember with fondness Dr. Sita Srinivasan, my creative writing teacher, who is also Tilaga ma'am's guide, PhD guide during our MA days. Thank you, Sister Putti, my 12th standard English teacher. She's not there. She taught me Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. And I remember I came up with an interpretation which she said was so different. And, that changed the course of my life. I did pure science. And then this particular class, gave me an insight. Okay, let me do English literature. And then, I'm so grateful to her for being there. And Tendril is my schoolmate and friend. I admire her flair for Tamil language, her poetic diction and the nuances. Not to forget her sense of humor in her social media posts. Even though my poems are in English, I thought it would be a step towards decolonization to have a Tamil poet translator to talk about my poems, because I feel and think in Tamil. Thanks to my academic children, my research scholars and students whose smiles and enthusiasm inspires me to do more. Well done, Nikita and Daya and Deepak, for your meticulous planning and execution. And Mary, Little and Jaren, all my research scholars. I'm grateful to my first set of poetic audience, Tata Maria Susai, who felt challenged when I read out an Ammachi poem to him when he was in his 90s. He said, Emma in Erkitiye, I read out the poem and explained the, meaning in Tamil. He said, Emma in Erkitiye. அந்த காலகட்டத்துல எல்லா மென்னும் அப்படிதான் இருப்பாங்க, அதனால நான் அப்படி இருந்தேன், எனக்கு தெரியாது. That's what he said in his 90s. So he was my first audience. And Appa Pakiraj, Amma Nirmala, my everything, my sister Priya, my brother Jay, and for their inspiration. My husband Roy, who has done the cover design for the book, and my Buddha, who can make a perfect my Buddha, who can make a perfect dosai like the full moon in the night sky. Mine is usually in shreds. So my sons, Amal and Inian, who calls me Boomer Mummy for narrating non-stop stories of the 80s and 90s. And extend my sincere gratitude to my friends and colleagues in Loyola College and University of Texas at Austin, because I did write some of those poems in Austin. Whose candid remarks and at times critical feedback on my poems motivated me to compose these multifarious poems effectively. Thank you so much. Coffee is there. Coffee and snacks. Tell them.
With that, we come to an end of today's event. It is always a pleasure listening to ma'am and seeing her eyes light up talking about her passionate work. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much. This was Nikita.
And this is Daya.
We are privileged and thankful for the opportunity given today. Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy some coffee and snacks provided outside. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a minute. On behalf of the department, Dr. Randam Rajamalika and honor Maya and the poet today. Short.